I'm a libertarian. I'm pro-choice about everything, right? So the idea is, the idea of that slogan is they're taking this idea that, progressives, lefties are going to like, which is being pro-choice about, reproductive decisions, and saying, hey, if you like that, you should want to be pro-choice about everything, which is our position. And what I want to say is not only are libertarians not really pro-choice about everything, they're not even really pro-choice about abortion. So here's what I think it would take to be really pro-choice about abortion. That you should support not only having abortion not be illegal, but you should support having it paid for, free on demand as part of a single-payer national health insurance program. And you should also support, at the very least, generous state-subsidized child care so that you don't have any financial pressures one way or the other, so people can really make a meaningfully free choice about that.
There's this left-leaning socialist channel, or I should say a channel that discusses socialism and how it might make this civilization a little better, society better, called Zero Books. And several people, do videos for this. And one of is Ben Burgis. And one of his videos, it sparked me, to make this video because, like I've said before, the left pushes men who might be helpful towards the right with their anti-male stances. Ben Burgis, if you ever hear this, think about how, like some guy, some impoverished guy from a trailer park actually does pull himself up by his bootstraps. And he somehow, earns enough money and takes out enough loans to get to university. And he gets there, and then he sees, guys like you and says, socialism, they're thinking about trying to fight the runaway capitalism, which is basically greed. These guys are fighting greed. I'm on board with that, right? And so not only has he pulled himself up as a bootstrap, he's a good person who's empathetic to others and thinks about the wider society. And so he wants to join your fight. But when he shows up, he has some princess who's had everything handed to her tell him to check his privilege. And not just once, but continually until the end of time. What an insult to well-meaning young men. Him staying in an atmosphere like that will eventually just turn him into mush, or he's going to hit the eject button and get the hell out of there. And he's going to look for, some space that it looks like it will congratulate him for his good intentions and his efforts. And it will probably be somewhere on the right. Not all alt-righters may be, white nationalist or racist. They might have scooped up some of these guys who just looking for any place that's going to treat them with some kind of respect. And the worst part is the right wing only has a veneer of self-respect. They have no self-respect. They're just as anti-male as you guys tend to be on the right. Or not tend to be, are. So it's a lose-lose situation for well-meaning young men. Unless the left cleans up its act. Now, for example, you talk about, being pro-choice for women for abortions, right? Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, but by extension, men should be pro-choice opting out of fatherhood. In other words, you should be against child support. Men who are kicked out of relationships by women and away from their children, they don't deserve to be forced to pay a dime. That's slavery. And even guys who don't, let's say these young guys, they're just like the young girls. They all want to have sexual experiences at college. Just because her contraception didn't work, or she purposely didn't use any, doesn't mean he is obligated to this woman, in any way. Not even 1%. If she wants to keep this baby, he should be able to look at her and say, well, good luck with that. You're a first world woman who stands on her own and can get social assistance, and you can have your own job, and you can look after this child if you want to. You can be that heroic parent type that people talk about. But he shouldn't be forced to do anything. Young men having sex with women does not mean they have to give up their life for that woman. It doesn't mean that they sign a contract to be a father. Just like the women can abort their children because them having sex with men does not mean that they have signed a contract for motherhood. This is the kind of true sexual equality that would attract a, well-meaning young man into your ranks. But as long as you are 100% pandering to the opposite sex at the expense of other men, which is always is, then there's no carrot to make a well-meaning young man enter your space and waste his valuable time and risk his well-being for you. So if I thought you, Ben Burgis, had no ability to hear and digest what I'm saying, I wouldn't even bother talking to you. But I still hold out hope that the left wing has at least a few individuals who can think reasonably and logically and overcome your anti-male instincts for the better. I mean, be honest with yourselves. The original Marxist and socialist, the idea is that they came from men who were at the bottom, who wanted to shake things up so they could rise in status and be better off. It's not just the altruism of making society a better place. How many of people in your ranks, young men in your ranks, just realize they have no ability to climb the ladder on their own? So they want to adjust things so they have a better chance. They can't do that if 50% of the population, the female half, is going to get everything that you work for, and they get nothing. As long as you're on that trail, you are going to spin your wheels, Ben Burgis, okay? Now, that should be all I have to say about this. Thank you.